As we lead into a World Cup chat, we have to talk about Leinster, and everybody here 2-3 weeks ago, remember when Sam Prendergast kicked them home against, who was that, against the Lions?
Yeah.
With a really makeshift squad. We were saying, there's nothing really can go wrong. It just goes to show a couple of one-point defeats later. Ross Byrne has learnt a lot. Jack Crowley has come out the other side of it. So unfortunately, sport is ruthless. Is Jack Crowley now ahead for the World Cup?
Look, at Andy Farrell Andy Farrell thought Ross Byrne was ahead of him earlier on the year, but I think this last month, Crowley getting those games, showing what he can do, is going to even it up a little bit. And obviously, it depends on how they train over the summer. But
how do you think Ross Byrne is? Because it wasn't all on him, but like a lot of the Leinster guys are struggling with a bad head at the moment. They must be, privately.
To have no silverware over 2 seasons, having been probably one of the best teams in Europe leading into the knockout stages, would be very hard to swallow. They obviously had a week. They had awards night last night, so they had a week where they had to hang around, and I'm sure the autopsy was horrendous because they built so much about getting this European Cup, and obviously having lost to Munster, it was do or die last week against La Rochelle, and they didn't get it done. So, but now there's a change of coaches. Stuart is gone, Johnny's gone, and they've got to start again. But they have Leinster should be winning trophies. They have the resources to do it. It's just they got to get over the line, and that's Leo Cullen and the coach's job to find out what they need to do to get there.
Listen, nobody likes autopsies, but it's going to happen. So, I mean, what are you going to point to? What was the rogue element in the system that left them down?
Well, they won't make the same selection for the semi-final as they did before. Everyone else has got better. And I know we discussed it. I still think it was a strong Leinster team.
I think Eddie won that argument, though, didn't he?
He did in hindsight, which is always handy. Yeah. But I don't think they'll take that risk again. Yeah. Everyone else has got better. They can't win semi-finals without playing their frontliners. And I think they built up the Champions Cup too much. The fifth star, the chase for it, it's just become an obsession. And when you want something that much, it's almost hard to get over the line and do it. The misfortune for them is La Rochelle are so good, and they're going to be back as well.
I think one of the problems they have is this is something that the All Blacks suffered with for World Cups. All Blacks won the first World Cup in '87. Everyone said there'd be no other team win a World Cup. 91, 95, 99, 3, 7. The All Blacks lost dogfights. They got into dogfights in the tournament, lost them. Last 2 years, Leinster have lost 4 dogfights. The Bulls, La Rochelle, Munster, La Rochelle. And it's cost them a lot. Now, the problem for Leinster is they can win most of their games during the season with a mixed selection,
they lost
pulling
3
up.
games this season. Yeah.
But the problem is that when you get into these dogfights, and they're not used to them, the one-score game with 5 minutes on the clock against a team that are fighting and punching above their weight, how are you going to see it out? And that does leave a scar when it happens enough to you.
It's very interesting, but also, does that not lead you, Bernard, as an ex-professional, to think, OK, the only thing that matters are the dogfights, and the way rugby is structured, you don't get a dogfight really until April. So they come back in September, October, November, World Cup season, and start playing club rugby. But their next dogfight, as Eddie said, is 12 months away.
Yeah, and that's tough, but that's the way it is.
How do you stay focused?
Well, I think one of the things they're going to look at is how come they don't have a bench in the big games that can come on. If you look at the match against La Rochelle, it was only injury-enforced replacements, and there was no. La Rochelle took off their players and brought on their hooker, sub-hooker with 20 minutes to go, etc., etc. Leinster, Luke McGrath came on with 2 minutes. Cian Healy came on at the end for an injury. So, despite us all talking about the squad they have, for some reason the coaches didn't feel that they had 8 guys on the bench who could come on and change the game, and that's a worry.
Those substitutions are very easy to make, which happens every Friday night in the RDS. When you're 20 or 30 points up, you can run the bench. You get into a one-score game, every decision you make on a substitution is a do-or-die substitution. So you're not in that environment a lot. It's very difficult to make those decisions. And I think the mental side of the game now is a challenge for Leinster, because you're right, it's unlikely they'll get into another dogfight for the best part of 10 or 11 months. So how are they going to function the next time in there? And I know New Zealand put a huge amount of energy into mentally preparing for those dogfights before they won the World Cup in 11.
There's books been written about it.
So it's probably an area they'll have to look at. How do we get out the other side of a dogfight that we haven't been used to in all year?
Okay.